In the last lesson, we had our application running on port 8080. We started a Nginx Docker container. Now, I kind of walked over some things, so I want to discuss it in this one. We didn't even look at the Docker desktop GUI, but this is what it looks like. And it's kind of doing very similar things that you can do on the terminal. So if you do Docker container ls, then there's no running containers right now, like we mentioned in the last lesson. I actually don't have any at all. You could even see that here if you're in containers, it's trying to get you to run some sample code here, right? This is the Docker getting started code. And we could even run this if we want, so why not? Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so now on port 80 of our computer, this is going to start up this sample code from Docker. In the Docker desktop, we can see what's going on here just graphically. Same on the command line. Now, if we do ls, we don't need the -a flag because this is a running container. You'll see a lot of the same information here. So the name is docker/getting started. That would be the image name. So if you look at the images, then these correlate to each other. The ID for this is 9E0. So if you go to containers, you'll see very similarly that the code here is 9E0. You can click that open and you can even see a log of what's going on with your Docker container. You can do the same too on the command line over here. You're just going to have to throw in another flag. Okay. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what this application looks like. Localhost 80. Keeps auto doing it for me. 80, right? So this is what that Docker application is going to look like. And this is really, it looks like it's the documents for Docker. So it's going to tell you how to create applications. It's going to teach you about some of the terminology in Docker, using Docker files, which is a little bit more advanced, and we'll get there. Essentially, instead of running the code like we're doing here in the terminal straight up, where I'm pasting all this whole thing that was on Git, you would put this in a file instead, and it would allow you to create more complex architectures so you could have different multiple services here. We will cover that when we make a WordPress account in an upcoming lesson. We'll have a Apache web server running or an Nginx web server running as one service, but in the same Docker file, we can also put the MySQL or MariaDB service as well. So we'll essentially have two containers running to create that WordPress site. You would use Docker build here. Cool. So well, this is what this is. And then I wanted to go over the bind mount that I was discussing really quick. So let's go ahead and clear out everything. With Control-L, we can clear out that terminal console. I can Docker container stop, I think it was 9E0. And I'm actually going to remove it. So Docker container rm 9E0 just to clean things up here. Now, believe it or not, I really don't want this Docker getting started image. I can just find this on the internet, right? I don't need it to take up storage on my machine. So I'll do Docker image rm and then the name of it, Docker getting started. Now, if you look in the list of images here, you no longer see it. We only have that Nginx image that we had from the first lesson. And similarly, I can do Docker image ls, and I'll see that that's gone now. So that's the cleanup portion. Now, I want to go over this bind mount feature because I find it to be extremely cool, and I kind of just burst over it. Okay, so let me go to the right directory, which was the test desktop test.com. And again, we could see that here on the test.com. In the test.com, we had that demo site. So if I go ahead and run all that Docker code again, just copy and paste from GitHub, then on my port 8080, I can access this code again. Now, let me open this up in my IDE because this is really where this is going to get cool. So you can use your IDE of choice, right? Visual Studio, whatever you want to use. This is just what I happen to use. Open it, trust project. Let's take a look here where it says your gateway to digital growth. And we'll go to that index page. And we'll replace that to Docker is a great tool for development. Save it. Boom. So you can see how you can edit on your local machine right here. And these edits in the local machine are going to take place on the Docker container, which is pretty fantastic. That's where that bind mount comes into play. Otherwise, if you don't have any type of bind mount going on here, then you're going to have to upload your file somehow, whether to Git or with a FTP or running another command, right? So this really just takes out another step in your development level, and you can quickly see what this is looking like on your Docker container. I think this is a good place to stop off with this lesson. So like I mentioned, in the upcoming lessons, we're going to launch a WordPress website. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the Docker documents, the docs, Docker docs, and we can start using other methods to create these containers, and it's going to allow us some better organization and to really like visually see our code and our infrastructure, right? So this is cool because it gives us infrastructure as code, which starts to become something beautiful for you to create complex environments. All right, y'all.